breaking news tonight. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton has been indicted.
But the FBI has been illegally spying on regular Americans for years.
The left is going to scream hell for leather, lawfare, 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 politicization, overreach, blah, 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 blah.
But Trump is in many ways, he harkens back to a different kind of president. He's racking up victories, he's racking up W's.
Now, breaking news tonight. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton has been indicted, something that's been in the pipeline for a little while. Katie Pavlich from townhall.com still with us. Tell us what's happening.
So he's been indicted by a grand jury for allegedly mishandling or keeping classified information in his home, which you're not supposed to do. I don't have details, unfortunately, about what kind of documents we're talking about. But in the lead up to this, there was a lot of accusation about the president going after him for political reasons. But we're about to learn a lot more about the kinds of documents. And this investigation started during the Biden administration under the Biden Department of Justice. So it's not just a Trump Justice Department project.
We're hearing tonight thousands of pages of information being
He could be in real trouble. Real prison sentences are on the table here if he were to be found guilty.
You can't escape the fact that John Bolton is basically one of the last, despite being part of the last Trump administration, is one of the great holdouts as a Trump critic. In your heart of hearts and in the minds of the American public, do you think that this will be seen as the fair course of justice?
I mean, if he has thousands of pages of classified information, as someone who's not supposed to be in possession of them, I think that they can discern the facts for themselves and realize that that's not a Trump issue. And again, as I said, this was an investigation that started under the Biden administration, and a grand jury has issued this indictment. It's not that the charges are simply coming from prosecutors at DOJ.
The Daily Wire's Tim Rice is back with us. Tim, what do you think? I mean, obviously, the left is going to scream hell for leather, lawfare, 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 politicization, overreach, blah, 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 as they have been for a couple of weeks now. Obama's the one saying, oh, we shouldn't politicize the judiciary and we should be, the FBI need to be, I mean, the hypocrisy of all this is astounding, isn't it?
No, it is, but I think that actually gets to a sort of crucial point here, which is that no matter whether it's right or wrong, and I happen to agree with Katie that based on the limited details I have, it seems like, there's a legitimate course of action. A grand jury is, of course, a jury of one's peers, but this is just a thing that we do now, right? The Biden administration, the Biden DOJ did it to the Trump people, the Trump DOJ is doing it to the Biden people, the Obama DOJ did it to everybody. This is just, it's unfortunate, but this is now a part of American politics. This is now, politics by other means. And I do think that this is a legitimate one, again, based on what I've seen, but I do think it's unfortunate that, we are at a point where this is just sort of like par for the course. This is something that Justice Department attorneys do.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Davis from the Article 3 project, obviously a very pugnacious, to put it gently, Trump-supporting attorney, said two wrongs don't make a right, but they do make it even, which I think is kind of where we are now, right? This is, it used to be banana republics and the French that look up their opponents after losing elections, but it does seem to be, seeping into American politics.
Yeah, but there's two arguments to be made here. The first is that the left started this, with the long list of things it did against Donald Trump that never really came to fruition in terms of the state courts, the federal courts, the indictments. And the argument is you have to have mutually assured destruction or they will continue this unless there's punishment for them. The other argument is there's a difference between lawfare and accountability for abusing and weaponizing the Justice Department.
Yeah.
And how do you hold officials like James Comey or maybe officials during the Obama administration at the IRS who did not get held accountable for targeting Tea Party groups, mom and pop political groups all around the country, and therefore the weaponization got worse and worse and worse into the Biden administration. So there is a line here of how do you hold people accountable without engaging in that kind of...
And I think that's absolutely right. And one other thing to note, though, right, is that it is important to talk about lawfare versus accountability and all those things. But at the end of the day, we seem to have an epidemic of government officials taking cartons of classified information.
Well, Biden did it, Trump
Everyone
did it,
seems to be doing this. And look, if it was a different political climate, if it was a different geopolitical climate, this could maybe be something that we brushed off as. Yeah. And I'm sure people have been doing this since, way back in the day. But when it was, Bobby Kennedy taking home things and giving them to Ben Bradley, everyone just sort of winked and nudged in official Washington, and it was fine.
On for the connoisseurs.
That's not the world that we live in anymore. That's not how the parties interact with each other here. That's not how our enemies interact with us. This is a risk. These sorts of things are a risk. It's illegal for a reason, and that's where I think you get to accountability, even if it does kind of have whiffs of lawfare.
Can I say one thing?
Of course, good, please.
There's also the argument of overclassification, that we overclassify in the United States, which actual classified sensitive information should be protected, but there is I'm not justifying John Bolton's holding this classified information, but there is an overclassification problem. And the other issue is that we have all these officials who benefit after they work in government from keeping their security clearance and keeping this kind of access to the information, which is why many of them are holding on to it, because they're using it illegally in a lot of cases to make themselves a lot of money as consultants and that kind of thing.
Or even just for the memoirs.
And for the memoirs.
always remember the memoirs. How far, guys, do you think this is going to go? President Obama was out and about on some podcast yesterday or the day before. So, sounding a little bit worried, actually. Do you really think he could be in the sides? We had Senator Ron Johnson on yesterday who said an Obama indictment isn't out of the question. Do you reckon they've got time to do that?
I wouldn't put it past them looking into it. I certainly
that would be
think
like nuclear
it would be, but they indicted a former president already. Yeah. So again, it's that mutually assured destruction issue, and Obama's the one who spied on his campaign and entrapped the president during his, the period between his first election and getting into the White House. He entrapped a number of his top officials. He helped with an impeachment against the president. I mean, he did do a lot of things behind the scenes. Whether they're illegal or not, I'll leave up to the Department of Justice.
Tim, you have a glint in your eye as we...
I don't think he's going to indict Obama. I can see him doing it too. I can very much see the case for it. But I think that there's something of this term. Again, we have a lot of Trump 2 left. But I think, you have seen, it's measured is maybe the wrong word. It's still very move fast and break things. But this time, this administration, the president seems to know when to pull back. Or he seems to know just when to stop short of the line.
He's got people around him who, go.
He's racking up victories. He's racking up W's, and I think he wants to keep doing that. And like Bolton, Comey, even the indictments themselves, even if nothing comes from them, that's an unquestionable win for the president. An Obama indictment, that's a whole different bag of cats.
Well, and then the news cycle is all about Obama, which they don't want.
Right.
So.
Well, the one that gets me, and I'm amazed is not a bigger story, and I've been banging on about it as much as I can, is the Biden administration FBI spying on 8 senators. That strikes me as the worst one yet, and everyone's just sort of, at best trying to sort of ignore it, at worst actively playing it down across the lefty networks.
Yeah, and I think that's one, if there is going to be something, that might be one that they look at.
That looks to me like a ticking time bomb.
And that's also, you get into then just sort of, branches of government kind of interfering with each other. And that is one of the few things that I think both parties, people of all different ideological stripes can agree on is you just can't be doing that.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
I was just going to say that the senators getting spied on and that new information about them, of course, is very alarming. But the FBI has been illegally spying on regular Americans for years. They did 200,000 illegal searches against everyday people looking for terms like Bible, Patriot, Tea Party, etc. So I'm really glad that the senators who now feel like they've been attacked are paying attention to this, but their constituents have been victims of this kind of spying for years and years and years.
All right, guys, we've had some serious chats tonight on the show. I want to talk about the Arc de Triomphe. I screwed it up. The Arc de Triomphe, based on Paris's Arc de Triomphe, based on the Victory Arch in London, a ginormous marble arch opposite Arlington Cemetery, peering down on Washington. Is this going to be Trump's final stamp on this town before he goes off?
I don't know if it'll be final, but it looks pretty nice.
On the screen.
I think it'll look pretty nice.
I love these little.
Here's one thing I love about this shot is the Lincoln Memorial looks over Memorial Bridge, and if you look up on the hill in Arlington Cemetery, there is Robert E. Lee's house, who of course was the general who led the Confederacy. So this is a unifying bridge where Lincoln Memorial is forever looking at Robert E. Lee's home, and it's very symbolic about the country and the history and moving forward as Americans. So I'm not really sure where they're going to put this. I hope they don't obstruct the view.
Unless you can look through the middle of it. I mean, it's big enough, I suspect, to be...
Yeah, it looks like it'll go over the Lincoln Memorial. Who knows?
Yeah. I think it's got the models of it. I think there's various models of various sizes and the hell of a map. I mean, this puts the ballroom in in perspective, right? We started with the patio,
right.
the sort of Mar-a-Lago style dining club in the Rose Garden, and President Trump insists this was because female visitors insisted that they
can attest to that.
Their high heels,
That's right.
their high heels were sticking into the grass. He says not a single rose has been cut down, but there is the jury is slightly out on the patio. Then we've got the ballroom, which I think there are spades in the ground. I think they are already saying they're going to do fundraising for it. When does he stop? I mean, every time I go to the Oval Office, it gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and it's going to be entirely gold if it carries on at this rate. Do you reckon he's going to get this arch across the line?
I don't know if he's going to get it across the line. I mean, if he can get an infrastructure project that massive completed in Washington, D.C., he might truly be the greatest president of all time. But I think it's sort of, Trump is in many ways, he harkens back to a different kind of president.
Yeah.
And this is, in modern times, first ladies have really taken over these sorts of things, right? But back in the day, right, you had Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, these guys they cared. They had, when you hear like Andrew Jackson hated the White House or Harry Truman hated Camp David or things like that. So, I mean, him and Grover Cleveland, right? They're the only two non-consecutive presidents, and now he's got this Gilded Age mindset.
Do you reckon he'll get it done?
I think he'll get it done. And I think he won't stop with this. There'll be more.
And it would take a brave Democrat to take down the big, beautiful flag from the White House. Katie Pavlich from townhall.com. Tim Rose from the Daily Caller. Daily Signal? Daily Wire.
Daily Wire.
I do that every time.
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm. Thank you for joining us tonight.